Alright, so, okay. Now let's continue with the battle. Okay, so, you also have these buttons. This moves to your next available unit that can make... Okay, well, first of all, let's talk about how you play the game. So, in order to select a unit, you press the A button. Woo, okay. So, when you select a unit, you're given this kind of thing, and each unit does something, or certain units can move and attack, and other units can only just attack. Like, tanks can move and then shoot people, like this. Obviously, I turn the animations off, because I actually don't like the visuals. However, for now we're gonna actually see that, just because I want people to see how it works. So what you saw there for a split second was combat. It's a turn-based game, and when you 1 second, let me just okay. So if we take this tank and we move it up to this tank, we then move it up to the tank, and we are now able to shoot them and attack them because it's a direct unit, which means they have to be next to the guys to attack, and they can shoot and attack in the same turn. So let's see what happens now. So on the left we have our guys, and on the right we have their guys. Medium tanks are the strongest ground unit when it comes to direct combat, so it's gonna wreck tanks pretty well. Also, the terrain the tank was on was a road, which gives no defense, so that also is gonna mean we're gonna do a lot of damage here. Indirect units like rockets and artillery can only shoot in the red spaces as seen here, and can only move and shoot they can't move and shoot in the same turn. Despite the fact that if I move the artillery up here, I can shoot the tank. If I move it up here, it won't give me the option to shoot. Waiting pretty much means it just sits there and uses up its turn. Now, the reason this tank only took 4 damage was because he was in the woods, which gives him a slight defense bonus, and it was another tank shooting him, so it's not going to be that much more power. These little weird city things are properties. If you own a property, you put a unit on it, it will resupply the unit and increase its health by a little bit. Some properties will allow you to build units, but we aren't there just yet. You capture properties by using an infantry unit, either infantry or a mech, and they have to go over it, and they capture the property by pretty much attacking it, and the property starts out at 20 health, and then it goes down to 10, and then to 0, and then you have it. We're not going to move any tanks into this area yet, because even though I would normally move the tank in here, rockets are insanely powerful, so it would shoot it in the face, and that would suck. Instead, we're going to move the tank up here to this little grassland, because it advances our position. It's turn-based, by the way, which is why the other guy hasn't done anything yet, in case you're wondering. So this is an anti-air gun. They're used for mainly taking out air units to take out infantry. However, they also can do some damage against tanks. Let's see how much damage they do, and let's see. A lot of this game is spent making sure you're not in the range of rockets, by the way. Let's see how this works. Hopefully, okay, 22% damage means it will take about 2 health off, putting it to 4. And I don't think, and if you attack it, the unit will. Direct units can counterattack, but the counterattack is always after the first unit's damage is dealt. So with the tank, it will deal 4 damage to this thing, and then the 6 damage will be dealt back to the tank for 2. Or here, it will deal the 2 damage to the tank, and the tank will deal the 3 damage back, or the power of a third of its attack back to the AA gun. You also want to use units to block and protect your indirect units, because now this tank actually can get around my guys, because you can't go through enemy units directly. Now it can't get to my AA gun. So that's called strategy. Infantry are mainly only good for capturing buildings, and mechs can actually attack non-infantry units, but they move slower, so there's a trade-off there. APCs are they can transport infantry around, I just put the mech in it and now I can move the infantry, and they can also resupply units. like that. And so now these units now have all their fuel and all their shots refilled. And then we're going to move artillery up, and recon are mainly used in fog of war matches. We'll get there when we get there. Pretty much fog of war is that you can't see anything except, like, each unit has a line of sight, and you can't see anything except in that line of sight. Recon are mainly used for taking out, like, unarmored units and for taking out infantry and for fog of war matches. Most of the time, they're not that useful in just general combat, unless they're trying to move a lot of infantry at you and you don't have enough money for an AA gun. So now we end the turn, and now it's our opponent's turn. The CO meter in the top left I already talked about. If you fill it up, you get a CO power. By the way, the AI in this game isn't the best. More often than not, with the AI, what you wanted, or if you have a tank at 3 health, you probably just want to move it back and not. Yeah, so the AI is pretty bad. Of course, this is the first level, so maybe that's fine. But the artillery moved right in front of the medium tank, and now I'm going to kill it with extreme prejudice. Yeah, that was a bad idea, man. Come on, Olaf, you're better than this. Or moving artillery into the range of other artillery is also a bad idea. Indirect units cannot shoot back, and if you shoot it to any unit with an indirect unit, it cannot be shot back on. So indirect units kind of are inherently, they have like inherent buffs kind of, and that's what capturing it probably is like. They can have an inherent like strength to them in that like if they in like combat they'll beat almost every other kind of unit. Actually, they will if they're shooting. Like if if an artillery is shooting another unit, the artillery is automatically going to be in the better spot than the other unit is. Because the other unit can't shoot back at the artillery. And so that's also one of the main reasons why like the one like indirect unit commander, like the guy who's like special indirect unit stuff, the one guy who specializes in that is one of the better COs in the game. Also, rockets, despite being really powerful, don't have much defense and can't fire back ever. So there is some trade-offs, but generally they're very, very indirect units are very powerful. That was probably a misplay there. I probably should have just dropped it off in the mountains and then let the artillery move up into the city, but whatever. I don't think that's gonna cost us anything. And then in Intel you can see the terms. This is how most matches go. Destroy all the units or capture their HQ. You get to see the status, so you can see how many bases we have. You get $1,000 every turn for each base or each property. This is the amount of units we have. How many we have deployed, how many we have lost, so on and so forth. Our COs, we have Andy. Well, that's gonna happen. Olaf's CO power is full, and so we'll see what that does. So we have Andy, and it shows like what their buffs or powers are. He's just he's like the average commander. No real strengths, no real weaknesses, just perfect average. This is a CO power, restores 2 health to all his units. It's actually pretty decent as far as CO powers go. Not amazing, but and we also get to see some little personality here. He's pretty much just a kid. Just I don't want to wake up early. Yeah. We'll talk about Olaf when he does his CO power. And this is the actual exact stats on all of your units. Gives you the amount of health, the gas, and how many rockets they have. It'll also tell you their health. And then we can save, and we have options, which we can give up if we need to. There's also music. We didn't really hear the music because of I don't know how to do that without making it insanely. I don't know how to change the volume of music, so we're not gonna because a default just blazes over my voice and visuals. This one shows battle and capture. This one shows only battle. This one shows only player battle, and this one shows none. I go with that most of the time just because it takes a while, but so yeah, you have so you can see visual animations and whatnot. Most of the time I go with like C or 0. In this game you can't skip the battle animations. In other games like the second and third one and the fourth one you can. But in this one, we're going to do this one for this mission, and then later on we're not going to show any more of these, except for I guess maybe when like we get air units or stuff. So let's seal up CO power. This will be fun. Yep. The music gets really hype here, but we don't have music, so yeah. So now it's snowing. There is different like weather conditions. If it's raining, I think you expend more like fuel when you're moving around. Snowing, your units just move really. Oh shit! That was a lot of damage. If it's snowing, your guys don't move as far. Olaf, however, does not care about snow. He's the snow CO. When it's snowing, he actually suffers no movement penalties. So it makes him somewhat more defensive than other COs, just because like his power gives him another turn to like set up guys or defend or whatever. Whereas with Andy, he can kind of afford to like go a little bit more reckless, I guess. Yeah. I think CO powers naturally give you a little bit of a buff in like your defense or your power or something. So yeah, but I think I don't know Olaf doesn't get any like he doesn't. His power is that he's unaffected by snow actually, and not that he gets any buffs from the snow, whereas everyone else gets like bad times from snow. So it's somewhat interesting. And this is also why mechs cost more than infantry and move less. They can shoot rockets. It's pretty valuable.